English learning podcast.
Here you learn to speak and shine.
Stop! Don't skip this. What if the life you're living right now is not actually yours? What if you didn't choose it, you just slowly accepted it? That question used to keep me up at night, and today we are going to talk about it. Welcome to Speak English with Filza, the channel where we don't just learn English words, we learn English through real conversations, real feelings, real life. I'm your host, Filza, and I am so glad you're here today, because this one is different.
I'm Jake, Filza's co-host, and honestly, when Filza told me what today's topic was, I got a little uncomfortable.
Good. That means it's important. Because today we are not talking about grammar. We are not practicing tenses.
Today, we are going to ask you something that most people are too afraid to ask themselves.
Are you living your dreams? Or are you just managing your life? Be honest. Don't answer too fast.
Because there is a big difference, and most people have never stopped long enough to see it.
And by the end of this episode, I hope something shifts for you, even a little. So, if you are new here, welcome. On this channel, we have real English conversations, natural, honest, and useful for your everyday life. If you are a returning listener, thank you. Your support means so much to me.
And today's episode is perfect for anyone who is learning English and also thinking about life, which I think is all of us, honestly.
Yes, because language and life go together, you know? We learn English so we can express ourselves. And today, we're going to talk about one of the deepest things a person can express, their dreams.
Filza, let me start with a question, and I want a real answer, not a podcast answer.
Okay, go ahead.
When was the last time you did something that made you feel truly alive?
Oh, wow. You're starting like that today?
I told you, different episode.
Okay, honestly, I had to think. And that itself scared me, because it took me more than a few seconds. And it shouldn't, right?
Exactly. If joy is something we have to search our memory to find, something has changed.
Something has quietly shifted. Wait, think about that for a second. Joy should not be a memory. It should be a feeling you have right now.
And that shift, that slow, quiet shift, is exactly what we want to talk about today.
Because I think many of our listeners have felt this. You work hard. You are responsible. You take care of everything around you.
But somewhere inside, something feels missing.
And you can't always explain it, because your life looks fine.
From the outside,
From the outside, everything is okay. But from the inside,
you feel like you're running on empty.
yes. And today we talk about why that happens and what you can maybe do about it. So Jake, I want to start with something I believe very deeply. I think most people don't give up on their dreams in one big moment.
Right, it's not dramatic.
It's not like one day you say, okay, I am done with my dreams, goodbye. It happens slowly. So slowly you don't even notice.
One small decision at a time.
You say yes to something safe. You say maybe later to something meaningful. And then later never comes. You didn't lose your dream, you just kept choosing comfort over it, one quiet day at a time.
And the dream doesn't disappear. It just gets smaller and quieter until one day you almost can't hear it anymore.
But it's still there.
It's always still there.
Have you ever felt that? That quiet feeling? Like something important is waiting for you, and you keep walking past it. People don't think of it as giving up. They think of it as being responsible.
Oh, that word.
I'm being responsible.
I'm being realistic.
I'm being mature.
I have a family. I have bills. I can't just follow my dreams.
And those things are real. I'm not saying they're not real.
But there's a difference between being responsible and disappearing inside your own responsibilities.
Say that again.
There's a difference between being responsible and disappearing inside your own responsibilities.
That is so true. And I think a lot of people have disappeared without even realizing it. Be honest. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for your family, not for your job, just for the person you want to become.
Because they were busy. Because life was loud. Because survival was more urgent than joy.
And somewhere between the survival, the dreaming stopped. Okay, so Jake, let's talk about this idea. Managing life versus living life. Because I think this is the heart of today's episode.
Yes, so when I say managing life, I mean this. You are just dealing with whatever is in front of you. You wake up, you handle problems, you get through the day. You react.
Like you're always in survival mode.
Exactly. Everything is urgent. Everything is a task. You're keeping the machine running.
And living? What does living look like?
Living means you have a direction, a purpose, something you're moving toward, not just running away from problems.
There's a big difference between running away from something and running toward something.
Huge difference. And most people, I think, are running away. From debt, from failure, from judgment.
From being seen.
From being truly seen, yes.
And when you're always running away, you never really get anywhere that means something to you.
You just end up somewhere, and you call it your life. Most people don't choose their life. They inherit it from their fears.
And then you defend it, because admitting you just ended up here is painful.
It's much easier to say, I chose this.
Even if you didn't.
Even if you never really chose.
Okay, so I want to ask the people listening right now, and this is a real question. Please sit with it for a moment. Is your current life a choice or a default?
Because a choice means you looked at your options. You thought about it. You decided.
A default means you just ended up here. One comfortable decision at a time.
And most people, honestly, are living a default life.
And there is no shame in that. But there is an invitation in realizing it.
An invitation to change.
Jake, I want to talk about fear, because I think fear is behind all of this.
Always.
But not the fear people usually talk about. Not just, I'm scared to fail.
What do you mean?
I think the deeper fear is this. What if I give everything I have, my time, my energy, my heart, and it still doesn't work?
Oh, that's different.
Because failing at something you didn't really try, that's okay. You can say, I never really went for it.
But if you truly try,
If you go all in and you still don't make it,
then what does that say about you?
that's the terrifying question. And people protect themselves from that question by never fully trying. Fear sounds like logic when you're tired. That's why it's so hard to fight.
Staying in the safe middle. Not too much passion, not too much risk.
Just enough to feel okay.
Just enough to not hurt.
And I understand that. I really do. Because I've been there. I think most of us have.
But the problem with the safe middle is, it's also the empty middle.
You're protected from pain, but you're also protected from everything that makes life feel like something.
You can't selectively block feeling. If you block pain, you also block joy.
And so people live in this gray space, safe, functional, but not really feeling much.
And they wonder why they feel hollow.
And they do feel hollow. I know because people write to me and tell me. They say, Filza, I have everything I need. Why am I not happy?
Because security is not the same as meaning.
You can have security, you can have comfort, you can have everything that looks good in a photo, and still feel completely hollow inside. A full calendar does not mean a full life. Remember that.
Because meaning cannot be bought, or scheduled, or planned into a spreadsheet.
Meaning comes from following something that is yours, something that feels true to who you are. Jake, can you share a story? You mentioned one to me before the episode.
Yes, a real one. So I had a friend, Let's call him Omar. Omar was one of the most creative people I've ever met. From a young age, he wanted to make films. Not big action movies, just small, honest stories about real people.
That's beautiful.
He carried a notebook everywhere, writing characters, dialogue, scenes. You could feel his passion when he talked about it. His eyes lit up.
And what happened?
He got a job offer, good salary, stable company, and he thought, I'll do this for 2 years, save money, then make my film.
2 years became...
8 years. He's still there.
And the notebook?
In a drawer. He doesn't open it anymore. He says it's too painful. Wait, a notebook full of dreams, too painful to open. How did it get to that point?
Oh.
And Omar is not unhappy exactly. He goes on holidays, he has a nice apartment. He laughs. His life looks good.
But
he told me something once that I have never forgotten. He said, Jake, I feel like I'm living someone else's life. I'm doing everything right, but none of it feels like mine.
I feel like I'm living someone else's life. That is one of the saddest and most honest sentences I've heard.
And I think there are millions of Omars in the world. People who are doing everything right, but none of it feels like theirs. The saddest kind of lost is when you're lost inside a life that looks perfect from the outside.
And the question is, when did it stop feeling like theirs? And can they find their way back?
I believe they can. I genuinely believe that.
Me too. And that's what we want to talk about next. Okay, so we've been honest about the problem. Now let's talk about what actually helps. And Jake and I want to be very clear. We're not going to say, quit your job and follow your passion tomorrow. That is not realistic advice.
Real life is more nuanced than that.
Yes, you have responsibilities. You have people depending on you. We understand.
But here's what we do believe. Change doesn't have to be dramatic. Small steps are still steps.
And the most important thing isn't the size of the step. It's the intention behind it.
If even once a week, you make a decision based on what you actually want, not what's expected, things begin to shift.
Slowly, but they shift.
And I think the very first thing, before any action, is this. Acknowledge that you have a dream. Just say it, even quietly, even just to yourself.
Because so many people have buried their dreams so deeply, they don't even remember them.
So let me ask you, right now, if I said, what did you want to be when you were 10 years old? Could you answer that?
Most people can, instantly, without thinking.
And that little voice that answers, that is important. That's not just childhood nostalgia.
That's a clue about who you were before the world started telling you who to be.
And maybe that version of you still has something important to say.
Maybe they've been waiting, very patiently, for you to listen. So ask yourself right now, not later, right now, what did 10-year-old you dream about? And when exactly did you stop believing it was possible? Okay, I want to speak directly to you now, the person listening. You don't have to answer out loud. Just let these questions sit with you.
First question. When you imagine your life 5 years from now, does it excite you? Or does it just feel safe?
Second question. What is one thing you keep saying you'll do someday? What would it look like to start, even in the smallest way, today?
And third, this one is perhaps the hardest. Are the people around you supporting your growth, or are they comfortable with you staying exactly as you are?
Because sometimes the people who love us most are also the most afraid of us changing.
Not because they're bad people, but because change in you reminds them of what they haven't changed.
So be gentle with them, but also be honest with yourself.
Your growth is your responsibility, no one else's.
And I want to say one more thing, something I truly believe. Discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is the price of a meaningful life.
Comfort is not the goal. Purpose is. Connection is. Growth is.
The goal was never to be comfortable. The goal was to be alive.
And being alive means risking things, risking failure, risking being misunderstood.
But also risking real joy. The kind that doesn't need a filter. The kind that doesn't need a caption. Okay, let's bring today home. We talked about something that doesn't get enough space in our lives. The slow, quiet way people drift away from their own dreams.
Not dramatically, not all at once, but one, maybe later, at a time.
And we talked about the difference between managing your life and truly living it.
And the fear that keeps people stuck in the middle.
But here is what I want you to carry with you today. One simple truth. Your dream didn't go anywhere.
It didn't leave you. It's been waiting, very patiently.
And it is never too late to begin. Even quietly, even slowly.
You are not too old, you are not too far gone, and you are not too busy.
You might be afraid, and that's okay. Fear means it matters.
So this week, not someday, not next year, this week, do one thing that belongs to your dream.
Write one page, make one call, say yes to something that scares you, say no to something that drains you.
Start the conversation with yourself that you've been avoiding.
Because a life fully lived starts with one honest moment.
And maybe that moment is right now.
I hope it is. I want to leave you with one last thought. Someday is not a day of the week. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, for the right time, for things to calm down, you will wait forever. Because life never fully calms down. The moment is now, imperfect, messy, uncertain, and still the only moment you truly have. Your dream has been patient with you. Be brave enough to go back to it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and with Jake. This episode came from the heart. I hope it landed in yours.
If it did, please share it. Someone you know needs to hear this today, right now.
And leave a comment below. Tell me, what is one dream you are not ready to give up on? I read every single comment, every one, because your story matters to me.
See you in the next one.
Take care of yourself, keep learning English, and most importantly, don't just manage your life, live it. This is Speak English with Filza, and I'll see you in the next episode.